Hey guys, welcome back to my Ableton journal. If you're into hypnotic techno and you struggle with your inner critic saying stuff like you don't know what you're doing or you have no idea where to go next, then this video is for you. And I'm saying that because I completed this track that I just showed you in 2 days. So in this video, I'll explain the mindset shift that enabled me to do such a thing. And I'm gonna do a breakdown of all the different sounds. Alright, so here we are back in Ableton Live. And for this example, I wanted to show you like what this track sounded like during the first day when I actually was producing it and facing this struggle that I talked about. The initial sketch that I had was just this top row of clips. I have some kicks, some hi-hats, and a couple of synths. And let's just take a listen, because I did initially only had this instance of DYAD, this percussive synthesizer from Fors. But anyways, let's just take a listen to what it sounds like. You see, this was like the core sketch that I was working with. One instance of DYAD, nothing special going on here, just a bit of echo. I was using this dub rack as well, and this was just like basic stuff that I put on almost any kind of synth sound just to get some movement going. I was also sending a bit to some different synths that I'm gonna walk you through afterwards. And on top of that, I did have some atmosphere stuff here, just some cassette noise, vinyl noise with a slink on it, and then some granulated field recording I did from gym, plates banging together and people talking and whatnot, and just sending that to a bunch of reverb. But my main point is this. I was at this point, and I was about to quit this project altogether and don't save it, because I had the thought come up, I have no idea what I'm doing. But then I remembered this technique from a book I've been reading lately. It's called Letting Go, and it's by David R. Hawkins. I highly recommend this. Without getting too much into detail, the technique is this. Letting go involves being aware of a feeling, letting it come up, staying with it, letting it run its course without wanting to make it different or do anything about it. That's it. So for me, once I let go of this preconceived idea of what I felt like this track was supposed to sound like, and instead I started following what I felt sounded hypnotic to me, then the track came together surprisingly fast, actually. So with all of this being said, let me show you what I did, starting with the drums. First and foremost, let's start with the kick. Take a listen to what that sounds like. Nothing crazy going on here. It's just this soft, muted kind of kick. I layered that with one instance of Punchbox, and this is just to get some more top banding and get the kick to punch a bit more, essentially. I added this quite late, to be honest. So you can definitely tell that it makes a huge difference. Besides that, I've just got some very light EQ, and I've got one instance of a UAD Pultech equalizer. And here I am significantly boosting 60 Hertz frequency, and also attenuating it a bit, and at the same time just boosting the 10k hertz just to give it even more punch. This plugin, honestly, it also adds a bunch of volume, but I felt like it just gave me a sound that I found desirable, so I just went with it. So the next element on the list is my sub bass line. This was initially just a pitched down and resample version of the DYAD synth line I had at the start. The raw clip sounds like this. And if we pitch it back up, see, you can tell that it is nothing more than a pitched version of the DYAD synth line. So without processing, my sub sounds like this. And what I do here always is just filter out the frequencies that I don't want. So it's just a rumble. Then I add one instance of utility, and I just pick out one of the channels that I like. For this one, it ended up being the left channel. Then I'll place a saturator after the fact, and I selected the bass shaper. I've chosen to saturate the bass a bit, just for me to be able to hear more of what's going on. After that, we've got one instance of the UAD DBX160 compressor, which I've come to find is a really, really nice bass compressor, to be honest. I am also driving the volume here quite a bit. What this compressor also does, it really brings out the top low frequencies or the low mids, which it almost sounds like somebody's like playing an actual bass line when you bring those out with this compressor. After that, I've got one instance of LFO tool just for some sidechain. And after that, it's just one instance of decapitator and another saturation distortion unit just to bring out even more of those lower mids, just so to further accentuate like the frequencies that we want to hear. So it sounds pretty messy, but I have also cut away a bunch of the low frequencies, and it's just a gentle 32%. Then follows one instance of track spacer, just some sidechain from the main kick, some EQ, more EQ, just to clean up, because even though I'm trying to bring out this frequency range, I also don't want it to get super messy, which it can do unless you control it with EQ. All right, that's our baseline. But I've also gone ahead and manually cut away the sections and used fades here to bring the notes of the sub in and out as I please. And this just gives me even more control, because I'm thinking, if my kick is hitting at this note, then why would I even have any kind of sub in that area anyways? These compressors and these sidechaining devices can only do so much. So that's a really nifty little trick if you want to spend some time doing that. Cleans everything up and makes it sound really nice. The next element is this donk sound that I've named it. This is just to bring some variation instead of having like a goat kick. So nothing too crazy. You can't really hear this super loud in the final mix. And all I've just done here, I tweaked the preset that came with it, and I've removed some of the sub bass frequencies. Furthermore, down the line, we have an actual bass line, and it sounds like this. You can barely hear it actually. If we take a listen with the full range of low-end instruments, it adds just this bubbly kind of texture in the back there. So it's just another layer just to like fill up the frequency range of the low end as much as I can, while at the same time trying to be subtle about it and not overpowering the entire low end, I guess. Okay, for my hi-hats, I have... It's not too much crazy processing here, to be honest. We have hi-hat 1, playing a pretty simple pattern with some octatrack groove played on top. Then we have another hi-hat, your standard 909 closed hi-hat, and the only thing I've done here is picked out this typical really nasty resonance that does come with most 909 hats. And after the 909 hi-hat, I have another set of hats that is just playing. Yeah, you can't really hear them, to be honest, but especially when they're being drowned out by the clap. But it's just adding this in the background, like it's just like flutter or ear candy, more than any main kind of supporting hi-hat. And also, I did put a shifter on top of this hat with some delay, just to add more texture. And the next hi-hat element that I'm kind of happy with is this, what's called meaty hat loop. And without processing, this baby sounds like this. This is it's a hi-hat loop that I made years ago. If I remember correctly, the sound of a couple of scissors and some operator like doing the sort of like the meaty mid end of this hat sound. Anyways, for the processing of this one, I've chosen my own Hat Perc Texturizer rack, which you can check out in another video. I'm going to link to that in the description. Because that enables me to just bring out a bunch of the sound and crush it with some erosion. Then I've slapped a phaser on top to add some side-to-side movement very gently. Just some EQ to boost the highs, and I have a sidechain compressor where I am ducking the hi-hats 1, so which is supposed to be my main hi-hat sound. And the reason I'm doing this is just because I want this main hi-hat to be as clear to the listener as possible. And then again, just some sidechain for even more movement. Lastly, I have this, what I call a ghostly hat. And this, if I remember correctly, is being sent. The audio from this channel is being sent out to the Synths only, and it's being sent to the stereo spring that I have with some slink on it, and to the plate reverb. But besides that, there's not anything crazy going on here. Just because I want that spring reverb texture here and there. Group processing wise for the hi-hats, I have one instance of hybrid reverb just with the stock preset, just up the decay of time of the reverb quite a bit. And I've added one instance of this multiband dynamic enhancer with the air preset from UAD. Like, I just want to excite. I want the hats to be loud, crisp, and clear without being obnoxious. And this is really subtle, but it does add, we boosted it quite a bit. It's adding this kind of sound. We just want a touch of that. So that's it for my hi-hats. Percussion-wise, it's not a lot of crazy stuff going on here, to be honest. It's just a clap and a snare. So I haven't given my percussion a whole lot of thought for this track specifically. No processing, no EQ, nothing, and it just to have some more variation in the interplay in the different sections. So that's it for my drums. Altogether, they sound like this. And lastly, I did forget to mention that I am processing my low end, my kick and sub and bass line with just one instance of the Studer A800 tape saturation plugin from UAD. Drums altogether are not getting any kind of processing. And yeah, I think it sounds pretty cool. So that's it for the drums. Let's jump ahead and go right into the synth section. All right, so synthesizers. The entire group is built up from 2 main vowel synths and this dyad recording that I did resample from the initial sketch that I had going. Altogether, my synth section sounds like this. It's nothing too crazy, but these two sounds are just basically the same sound, and they're not even processed differently if I remember correctly, just a tiny bit. Okay, quite a lot, but still, they use the same kind of basis, which is a simple pitched square wave, actually. So without any processing, the main sound is like this. And you see, the only thing I'm doing is pitch modulating a sawtooth wave with the LFO, and retrigger is set to off, and the rate is set to 1/4 note. On top of that, I've added the auto filter with the new vowel mode. So when you modulate this, you can get these really, really cool sounds. You pitch it down and way up. And me personally, I don't know why I picked this sound. I made that instrument rack a couple months ago, and I've just been coming back to it because I like that sound. For the processing that I do have for this device is just one instance of the exciter again. I've been trying to just bring it forward quite a lot. And we have another instance of the echo unit. Same thing goes for synth number 2. I just wanted a variation in the pattern, and I didn't want to do it on the same instrument channel, basically. Again, it sounds like this, all the way dry. And here I am also modulating the auto filter, the pitch, which creates these differences in the vowel sound. I'm modulating that with a slow LFO set to 8 beats. Now, after the fact, I have another instance of exciter. Then it's another instance of echo. Some auto pan and tremolo set to 42% with 0.62 Hz, just to give it another layer of movement. Then we have a simple low cut to remove some of the low frequencies. After that, we have another instance of exciter. Okay, like honestly, I'm not super sure what's going on with all these exciters, but if this is always on it, then that's it. I've also gone ahead and added one instance of track spacer, and I'm just sidechaining this vowel 2 to the incoming signal of vowel number 1, so that they won't clash too much or overlap when they're playing at the same time. Lastly, I have one instance of autofilter, and this is just for me to be able to bring it in and out of the mix, to be honest, which I'm only doing towards the end of the track. Next up is the resampled recording I made from DYAD, and without processing, it will sound like this. Again, it's just an autofilter to bring it in and out of the mix, which I do quite extensively throughout the track. I have selected the right channel, picked that out with utility. After that follows just a slap-on OTT, one instance of phaser, one instance of amp after the fact, just to give it a bit more top crunch. And then I've added one instance of shaper box where I've selected only the mid-range section, because I really wanted to try and bring out these lower, plucky sounds almost. After that, low cut with a Pro Q4, which to be honest is quite overkill usage of that EQ, but here we are. And then again, I've sidechained this DYAD recording to the entire vowel group. Oh, and also I've gone ahead and placed a low cut on the vowel group, as well as a bit of overdrive to the mids again, just to try and bring those out and fill out that frequency spectrum. The next one is called Bleep, and it's just this plucky kind of sound, melodic. And the way that I created this specific sequence of notes was that I used this MIDI effect called expressive chords, and I just went ahead, recorded that MIDI back into Ableton, and I was left with this MIDI pattern you see right here. Without the processing, and everything sounds like this, just with some reverb. Now for the processing, one instance of echo, one instance of slink, then some shifter, in which gives it these really nice, crisp and bright overtones. Then is one instance of autofilter, just to be able to bring it in and out. One instance of EQ8, just for the low cut. And then lastly, just one instance of track spacer to duck it whenever the vowel comes in, because I do feel like that's the leading elements in this track. All right, last in the synths section, we have a simple pad. And without processing, it sounds like this. This is just one instance of the Equinox synth from the Reactor stock library, which has a really nice, almost organ sounding sound with a phaser on top. And since I didn't want this to be too prominent in the mix, I did go ahead and put a slink on top, OTT a bit to just bring it out, and then just some light EQ to take out some of the lows and dip some of the lower high frequencies, just to create this sound bed. And I really felt that this pad ties everything together when it comes to the synths. Because if we bring it out, it is quite empty and it's just needing something more, which I feel like this pad really adds. So we're moving down the chain here, and for my Atmos channel, this entire thing sounds like this. Again, it's nothing in my eyes pretty crazy. I have a bunch of custom effects that I created using this playable effects technique that I've also showed in another video. I'm gonna link that in the bottom as well, which is just placed all over the place, just a resample of some of the channels I had going and chuck into a granulator with Valhalla Supermassive on top. You can actually see it right here. Then the next instance is this metallic pad thing, which sounds like this. And again, I'm going for Reactor. This is a stock preset in Razor. And just to make it a bit more interesting, I did end up chucking a shifter on top with a medium delay, which is pitching it down, and it gives these nice downward stepping delays. After that follows one instance of something as boring as just some cassette noise. It sounds pretty nice in and of itself. This is something that I do tend to just chuck in to give my tracks sort of this all the way in the back noise layer, because it helps fill out the frequency spectrum. What follows next is one instance of a vinyl noise sample that I did create in one of my earlier tutorials. And again, I'm just putting one instance of slink on top of this just to create some movement. And it's a rather short loop. But slink really just helps give it some life and movement. And when I place all of this in the back, that's exactly what I want. Just like some subtle movement. You can kind of tell what is or what isn't, because your main attention is always going to be on these leading elements anyways. And lastly, I do have one instance of this granulated field recording I did from a gym I was in a couple of months ago. And then again, this is just being sent through my plate reverb and some of the delays and whatnot. It's a really nice little trick if you have some field recordings of some cars, or like you could be looking through some kitchen drawer or whatever, and you just take that recording, put it into Granulator, add some delays, and send that to a pretty big plate. Then you can pretty easily get some really nice atmospheres out of that. So in combination with the sends as well, you get this really nice and interesting textural sound bed. Alright, so I just quickly want to run you through what's on my sends. Send A is one instance of little plate set to 8 seconds. The mud is turned up and the low cut is set to around 80 Hertz. The next one is one instance of delay. Nothing crazy here, just dragging down the width a bit and not even modulating the filter. And I also went ahead and placed one instance of convolution reverb on top with a spring reverb that I found to be enjoyable to listen to. Next follows one instance of the UAD Galaxy Echo delay and reverb unit, which emulates the Roland RE201 delay. Again, I selected a dub slap preset and sort of just rolled with that. And lastly is one instance of the amazing stereo spring, fake long spring mono, and another instance of slink filter to create some movement. And lastly, on my master channel, I have almost no processing at all. I'm just using one instance of the bass mono preset for utility and one instance of the Studer tape machine with the Hi-Fi Shine preset. Because I do find that it really just glues things together and creates a lot of really nice oomph in the low end section. So finally, I just want to mention a couple of things how I do arrangements. To me, this is a pretty no-brainer setup. I do, as I have mentioned in the past, work only in 16-bar sections, because I know from experience, from having DJ'd myself, that this is going to make it much easier for me to, number one, want to mix in my own track, and it's going to make it just easier for me to work with that track once it's actually loaded on one of my players, because then I know that after a set amount of 16 bars, there is going to be some change, and it is somewhat predictable to use in a mixing session. But overall, I feel like talking about arrangement and arrangement technique isn't necessarily the main thing that I focus on for my tracks. For this one, I have sort of the intro at 32 bars, then I have a 16-bar breakdown, and followed by 2 more sections of just groove development, I guess. I made sure to just drop out the kick every here and there, like every 16 bar, just to not be pounding the listener's ear all the way. And this also, it feels nice to just have these small breaks. It's my experience. So again, it's 32 bars and then another breakdown, and then we have 32 and 32 and we're done. Okay, as closing thoughts, I wanted to mention that finishing this track in just 2 days, it really showed me that I innately knew more about this genre and the stylistic choices that needed to be made to make this work than I was giving myself credit for. For me, the real shift was that for just a couple of minutes, I stopped believing this inner dialogue of not knowing where to go, and it fully opened up for me to be able to start stacking elements after one another. It fully enabled me to start just intuitively putting sounds together, and then in that combination of all those sounds, I was able to find more inspiration and just keep going and keep going and keep going until I felt like I was done, I was happy, and I had a result that I really liked. So if you've come this far, I want to challenge you. Like, next time you're sitting down, what if you, for 20 minutes, you tell yourself, like, you can make no wrong mistakes, everything is allowed, and just see what comes out of that. Because for me, what I found was that once I stopped believing that inner monologue, it just opened up this whole sea of inspiration that was just like sitting there waiting for me to tap into. With all of this being said, if there's anything else you're curious about to learn about my process, comment in the comment section and I'll reply as soon as I see your comment. Lastly, on that note, I am still offering one-on-one Ableton Live music production coaching for anyone who wants to try and level up their music production or mindset skills when it comes to techno, dub techno, or ambient music production. If you're interested in learning more about this, you can check out the link at the very bottom of this video. Thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.